let's get into doing our tier list, or your guys' tier list, I should say. I'll be back in 1 second. I'm just going to quickly put my food away. Be right back. Haas. Let's start with the Haas boys. Okay, let's start off with Mazepin. So Mazepin got stomped by his teammate. To be fair, not as much as I thought. Anyways, he got stomped in quali, he got stomped in the race. They both got no fucking points. Best race finish was Mick was 12th. It was just average, man. He never got above 17th, even with retirements. Like, what? Meanwhile, Mick, he, you know, you can see a lot more 16s in there. A lot more 16s. So he was constantly finishing ahead of his teammate. And then, yeah, you just look at the qualifying. I mean, Mazepin, a 19.59 qualifying. That is actually so sad. Constantly on the back row. Like, at least Mick, you know, was finishing in front of his teammate. Oh, finish in front of someone else. Oh, someone else. Oh, someone else. Oh, someone else. What do you rank Mazepin's 2021 season performance? That, I'll be honest, the two that I don't think are gonna 100% gonna be stayed, like no doubts, is Mazepin E and Max S. Those are the two I'm expecting. The rest I don't know how. After doing my tier list and reading chat, I have no fucking clue how you guys are gonna vote. Honestly, where do you rank Mick Schumacher? This is a tough one for me, and I'll explain why. The reason why is because you could argue putting him in C because he's in a doggy car. We don't really see how he does. He absolutely owned his teammate, right? So he deserves to be on the same tier as the other guys in C because he was consistent owning his teammate. But I also argue the amount of times he crashed, and even though he owned his teammate quite well, he didn't do what Russell did in a Williams. Does that make sense? Like, where occasionally he would have an insane result. I would have liked to have seen Mick make Q2 at least 3 times this season. He didn't. I know it's a dog car, but I still would have liked to have seen that happen. Just, you guys are split between D and C. Now, I'll remember that. But when we have to compare these guys, like, I'll remember that. I'll remember to put them up near the front of D because it was very, very split between D and C. Next up, we've got the Alfa Romeo boys. So quickly to take a look at their fucking season. It was a very interesting one. We've got Kimi Raikkonen, 20 years of experience, 40 years old. So he's old, but he's got a lot of experience. And then we've got Giovinazzi. He's not new to the sport. Third year in the sport, third year in the team, keep in mind as well. We've got Kimi and Gio equal on races. But the crazy thing about Gio here, which I never took into consideration in my tier list that I did the other day, my personal one, Gio qualified ahead of Kimi 5 more times, yet finished the same amount of equal on races. What happened? What happened? And I don't think he got necessarily unlucky. He finished with 7 less points. He only got 10th place. To think, like, I know the Alfa Romeo wasn't great, but to think the results that Latifi and Russell were getting in a Williams, which in my opinion, the Williams was better for the first half of the season. But yeah, highest grid position, 10th for Kimi, 7th for Gio. Again, he was doing so good in qualifying, and Kimi had 1 DNF. But yeah, Kimi really lacked in the quali this year. Look at that. That's really, really poor, I think. I mean, for Alfa Romeo, it's not bad, but considering how well his teammate did, if you gave Gio's quali pace to Kimi, that would have been a really good driver. But one was really good in quali, one was really good in the race, and I mean the car was dog shit. I don't see anything but D for Gio again though. We've now got Kimi in D with Giovinazzi. So you guys rank Raikkonen above Giovinazzi, and yeah, I agree with Raikkonen above Giovinazzi. I think Schumacher should be higher than both of them personally. Even though the car was poo, I think relative to his car, I think he had a good season apart from crashing. Up to Williams. So if we look at the head-to-head, Russell, surprisingly, not as dominant as he was in previous seasons. Losing out 5 races to Latifi, but still 10 races more than Latifi. And then qualifying, absolutely mopped the floor. But well done on Latifi for being the first driver, and not only did it once, but did it twice, fairly out-qualifying Russell. Russell had 3 DNFs, Latifi had 2. And then if we look at the drivers' standings, just to look at their results to compare it a little bit, the qualifying results, where are we? Latifi 16.45, while Russell's getting a 12.55. 4 places higher on average Russell was qualifying. But yeah, I don't think they're in the same tier anyway, so we're not really like comparing the two. We're more or less like trying to, you know, sort out who should go where. So anyways, everyone pretty much agrees that Latifi should be in B, and we'll vote for Russell right now as well while we're at it. Everyone's voted, or the majority has put Russell into B, which is interesting to me. I'm surprised people, I'm surprised, but I understand why people want to put him in A. That's because obviously of his qualifying performance. I'm surprised that people want to put him in C, but I also understand some people look way more at races than qualifying. For me, I think he deserves B. So Latifi higher than Raikkonen. All right, well, we don't need to do any more votes. We're up to the Aston Martin boys. Strolling up. Stroll, 1 more race finish than Vettel? I'm assuming... Oh, no, Stroll got COVID for a race. So that would be right. Why? But Vettel did much better in qualifying. Again, that's a bit disappointing, just like Giovinazzi. How do you out-qualify your teammates 6 times, but still finish 1 behind them in the race? Vettel did get 43 points, plus you add on the amount of points that he would have gotten from Hungary. That's nuts. Best race finish, 2nd. Highest grid position, 7th. Highest grid position, 5th. And then DNS, 5-3. Fuck, man. They must have had the most DNS this season. This is a tough one because I think Stroll was more consistent this season, but Vettel was more up and down. So do you account for the highs and the lows or what? They're very, very tight. But let's look at qualifying though. Vettel's was 11.7 and Stroll's was 13.24. Wow, so 1.5 off of his teammate. Did good at Imola. Wow, Vettel did much better there. Stroll did better. They were just kind of like trading the whole season. Tight, but Stroll goes into C. Now we do Vettel again. All right, Vettel up to C as well. So we've got the 2 teammates next to each other. Who had a better season, Vettel or Stroll? I don't disagree. I voted for Vettel as well, but I expected there to be a bit more ums and ahs throughout the convo. All right, next up, the AlphaTauri boys. Gasly demolished Yuki in qualifying. What qualifying did he out-qualify him? Like, oh yeah, Abu Dhabi. Literally the last race of the season, he decided to pull his thumb out of his ass. And then in races, Gasly had 2 DNFs. I'm assuming that's some of them. And then the other ones probably would have just been where Gasly fucked up, I'm assuming, right? And this is the saddest part for me. The AlphaTauri arguably was on par with the Ferrari in the first half of the season. And in the second half, the Ferrari obviously took leaps and bounds, but it was still there to fight those cars. And first off, for me, for Gasly to finish behind Ricciardo and a decent amount behind Norris and Leclerc and Sainz was a bit disappointing. Not a lot, just a little bit disappointing. But for Yuki Tsunoda, I don't care that he's a rookie, right? I don't care. Like, to get 32 points in a car that your teammate finished 110. And keep in mind, we're not talking about wins here, right? We're not talking about wins, right? Where, a win, what's that? 70-point difference. That's like 4 wins, right? We're talking about like 5th places. That's like 10 5th place differences or even more. I can't even do the math in my head. That is a disappointing season for fucking Yuki by a long shot. His best race finish was 4th, which is the last race of the season. And Gasly's was 3rd. Highest grid position was 2nd. His highest qualifying position in an AlphaTauri. His highest qualifying position in an AlphaTauri, the car that Gasly was putting on 4th a lot of the season, was 7th, and he only had 1 DNF in the race. So that's well done to him for only getting 1 DNF after all his fucking crashes in qualifying and practice. But no pace, man. What happened to his race pace? And yeah, I was talking about Gasly. Great season, very consistent. But I would have liked to have seen him do better with the car that he had. People keep taking away Leclerc's mistakes this season, but no, they don't look at Gasly or Lando's mistakes this season. Gasly threw away a lot of points this season due to his own fault with DNFs. But then again, he wasn't an AlphaTauri, which was worse, just slightly worse than the McLaren and the Ferrari, but he was matching them. So well done to Gasly. And then Yuki, right? He starts off the season with some nice points, right? He then did nothing the entire fucking season. His car is on par with a Ferrari and a McLaren. His teammates getting 4th, 5th places in qualifying, and every single qualifying, I don't have it up, but man's literally started in a position and dropped back every single race. His race pace, his quality was bad, but his race pace was even worse. 12th, 15th, DNF, 16th, 7th at Azerbaijan. That was a good result from him. But again, he started on the restart in 5th and finished 7th, 13th, 10th, 12th, 10th. And then he ended the season with a 4th place. Well done. But that's in the middle, in an AlphaTauri, he was not getting points in an AlphaTauri. Anyways, I don't think these guys are going to be in the same tier, but I just wanted to point out why Yuki had a bad season. Gasly, A tier. Like to see it. You guys have voted Yuki in D. I'll be honest, more people voted for E than I expected, because the other night I was getting grilled for putting Yuki in E. I'm not saying Yuki is on the same the same level as Mazepin. No. I'm just saying that on a tier list, they both had terrible seasons, and that's why I put him down there. You guys rank Schumacher higher than Tsunoda, so we don't have to continue on the polling. That is good. All right, next up, we've got the Alpine boys. Alpine, ha. Very, very tight season. Ocon, Alonso outperformed in race pace. They equaled in qualifying. They were very close on points. Ocon obviously had the win, but I think Alonso had more consistent finishes. Best was 3rd, Best was 1st. Highest position on the grid was 3rd, highest position was 5th, and then 2 DNS, 3 DNS. So they're very, very tight, man. They were very, very tight. The fact that they beat beat AlphaTauri in the championship. Well fucking done. Well done, because that was big considering that AlphaTauri had a better car, 100%. Look how opposite they were, dude. They were always like opposite. That's kind of crazy. Anyways, let's get your guys' votes in. Alonso in B. Love to see it. All right, we go. Ocon up to B as well. Pole's done. Alonso higher than Russell. We're banging this out, lads. Next up, the McLaren boys. I'm Australian, but if you're a Ricardo fan, leave the stream now. I'm about to go in. Here is the results. We've got Lando Norris, 3rd year in the sport, 3rd year at the team, versus Daniel Ricciardo. What, 11th year, 10th year? How long? Can someone give me a year? How long has Ricciardo been in the sport? 11th year in the sport for Ricciardo. And he got annihilated by his teammate in both race and qualifying. Yeah, only 40, what's that, 45? Yeah, 45 points behind. But again, we're not talking about race wins here. We're talking about 5th places, 6th places. How much points is for 6? 45 points behind divided by 8. 5 races, you know what I mean? 5 races he did not deliver to the result that he should have. Yes, he got the win at Monza, which is well done. But kind of like Yuki, except he did better than Yuki. He had a McLaren, man. He had a McLaren. And it's his 11th year in the sport, you know what I mean? Lando, straight up to A. Ricciardo is going to go in C. Now, I forgot to do the Alpine vote before. Thank you for reminding me. You guys have personally voted Ocon higher than Russell. Yeah, it's a very tight one. I mean, I think I did this on my initial tier list, but I guess I'd change my mind now. All right, we're in the vote there. Norris higher than Gasly, and we're going to move back down to Ricciardo now. Ricciardo higher than Vettel. All right, next up, the Ferrari boys. Looking at the head-to-head, I mean, it just shows Leclerc's pace this season, and Leclerc's pace was on par, but just a little bit below Lando's. He outperformed Sainz in 6 races, outperformed Lando in 4 Sainz in 4 qualifyings, but finished behind in points. Reason being, the 2 races that Leclerc DNF from were 2 races that Sainz got a podium at. That is huge for Sainz. So looking at this, I do think Leclerc had a better season in terms of pace. But in terms of doing the job, which is delivering points, Sainz did a better job. Yes, you know, the Hungary DNF wasn't his fault. There was a few other bad luck situations for Leclerc, but they also did a fair share of bad strategies for Sainz. So really, the only one you got to look at is Hungary, where Leclerc got taken out. But arguably, so many other drivers on the grid got taken out as well. It just didn't happen to be his teammate. Leclerc was 6.59 average qualifying, and Sainz 2 average finishing places below. I mean, Leclerc just killed it in the qualifying department and the race pace. Sainz has smashed it as well. Sainz up to A. So this is the interesting 4. I won't make any comments. I won't give any comments. I'll let you guys vote first before I give my comments, because I'm very opinionated on this. 32 votes. Leclerc higher than Gasly. Now, this is actually what I did on my tier list the other day. However, I've changed my mind since listening to other people's opinions and actually looking at the stats, because I wasn't able to do that the other day. I generally think it's this. And I'll tell you why. I think Lando Norris drove an almost flawless season. Again, could be an S if it wasn't for the few mistakes that he made this year. And I think if you're looking at pace, and this is what I like to do my tier list on, is the pace in the season, you know? And yes, obviously we put Leclerc and Sainz in the same car, and Sainz got more points. But you look at their results. Leclerc smashed the head-to-head on Sainz. He out-qualified 2 average higher qualifying position than Sainz. But the problem was the 2 races he DNF'd at. You take those 2 out of the equation, right? Either take Sainz points away, or you give Leclerc, say, a 5th place at those races. He finishes quite a lot of points in front of Sainz. But if you look at the context of, wow, it's Sainz's first season at Ferrari, it's Leclerc's 3rd, the golden boy, you definitely put it like this. You know what I mean? But if you're going off of pace, I think it's like that. And I do think Lando outperformed Leclerc, but I think Leclerc was just as consistent as Lando, just not on the same level. If you're a Bottas fan, you might want to leave, because I'm going to go on another rant. Another driver that deserves a rant. Bottas, 5th year at Mercedes, and he gets demolished by Lewis Hamilton. Now, don't get me wrong, Lewis Hamilton is a GOAT, but it's not his first year at the team like Perez or Ricciardo. It is his 5th year, and he's not matching his teammate. That one goes to show how fucking good Bottas is, that Lewis is, but how poo-poo Bottas drove this season. And in qualifying as well, 12 off. 160 points off his teammate. 1 win. And do you know what's another crazy fact? 1 win, 1 second place. What? 22 races in one of the best cars, 1 win, 1 second place. He got his fair share of unluckiness this season, don't get me wrong, but holy fuck. And then, yeah, qualifying results. I mean, Lewis had the best average. Wait, how? Oh, the Russian one just throws Max's out of proportion. 2.14 compared to Bottas's 3.77. Yeah, consistently qualifying so well the whole season, apart from Russia where he made that mistake. So yeah, Lewis had a great season. Bottas ranked C. Let's move Bottas up to C. All right, damn, we just got 4 S tier votes for Lewis, so we'll end it there. And I personally would put Lewis in A. Reason being, Lewis's first half of the season was quite shambles, in my opinion, to the point where he would edge on A-, even a B, to be honest, for the first half of the season. But the second half of the season was so fucking dominant. It was, it was flawless, no mistake. It was fucking amazing. So for me, the reason why I put him in A is because I generally think if you put Lando, I think Lando's performance was on par with Lewis's over the course of the season. I think Lando was way more consistent and outperforming his car, whereas I feel Lewis was making mistakes and choking that championship a lot. You go back to Lewis's results at Imola, went off track, crashed into the wall, got saved by a red flag. Monaco, awful weekend. Azerbaijan made that huge mistake. France through the tire strategy on the Red Bull. Austria made the mistake, drove over the curb, gave himself front wing damage. Belgium got out-qualified by Russell. Italy had that 50-50 incident with Max. Russia crashed in the pit lane, threw away his qualifying, but then drove phenomenally after that. Turkey spent way too long getting past Tsunoda, which ended up letting him get 5th place, and then drove flawlessly for those last races. So yeah, that's personally the reason why I'd put him in A, is because I think he had a phenomenal season. But when you look at the inconsistencies of Lewis's season for how high of a tier we put him on, and with the car that he had, I just don't think he performed up to the same level as Max. I think Max is the only driver that should be an S. I think he's the only one that drove an almost flawless season. All right, well, that's easy said than done. Bottas annihilated that one. Top of C. All right, we move on to the final pairing. Verstappen and Perez. So Verstappen absolutely annihilated Perez in both race and qualifying. Yeah, back all 3 DNFs were where Perez finished higher. He finished 200 points behind Verstappen. They both had a win, and Perez had a 2nd place start. Look at the quality results. Max finished 2.82. I don't know what's so low. I guess it's the Russia one playing into effect but yeah, Perez, man, 6.41 in a Red Bull, almost being out-qualified position in a lower qualifying position than Gasly, Lando, and Leclerc. Like, I get it's his first year there, but like that car was easier to drive than in previous years, but you got to give it to Perez for what he did for the team. So you guys have voted Perez in B, and I completely disagree with that. This is the first one of the night I completely disagree with. I don't see how Perez had a better season than Bottas, let alone in a tier above him. Poll is done. Russell higher than Perez. What do you vote? I mean, this one's pretty fucking easy. What do you vote? Verstappen's 2021 season performance. We'll end it there straight up. We don't need to do that. Straight up to S. And our final vote of the night. Who do you rank higher? Verstappen or Hamilton? 40 votes, 37% are towards Verstappen. So, yeah, that's your guys' viewer tier list. I'm not going to lie. The whole list, apart from Perez, I agree. Maybe a few spots here or there. Again, I'd put Yuki lower. I'd put Lewis lower. But I understand why people are where they... Everyone on this list, I understand why they are where they are. It's just not Perez. Now, I'm going to do my tier list. I'm going to do it. Yeah, that's my list. That's my list done. Again, I've watched all 22 races, all 22 qualifyings, almost every single practice session. I watched the whole season back, all the races back. I've looked at all the stats. I've listened to everyone's opinion, and that's just my final opinion on the season. Well, I see a few questions about a few controversial ones, so I'll explain those. Yuki, fucking awful season. For me, going off of pace and consistency, I think Leclerc and Lando outperformed Sainz and Gasly. And the reason why Lewis isn't an S is because I think the first half of the season, he made so many mistakes. I think I counted like 12 races he made pretty big mistakes, but because of his car and because of lucky as fuck situations, he was able to get back in the mix. He made a lot of mistakes this season. Can you explain why Perez is higher than Bottas? I think Bottas, 5 years in Mercedes, did nothing this season, but Perez also had a bad season, but it was his first year at Red Bull, and I think he did good for his first year at Red Bull, you know what I mean? I think in the context of it being his first year at Red Bull, it's tough. It's tough. Appreciate you guys all tuning on in for the viewer tier list and getting your votes in. It was fun. It was fun. I hope you guys had fun as well discussing it all.
Got it so bad, I got it bad for you. You give me good love, you're like a dream come true. They say it won't last, they say you're wild and free.